yes, Dutch elm disease.
Yeah.
Down the tubes.
I think they've controlled that now.
Yes, they did a lot of
extra strength Tylenol, I think.
Hey, Austin is where the
let's do this with puppets, okay?
Okay, hand puppets. What, John? Can you tell me?
Now they got that, and it's going to be accidentally.
Excellent. Well, I think we ought to. First, I'd like you to tell me a little bit about the emphasis that you place on character in your stories as opposed to the situations that they get into.
Character comes first.
Why?
Because I think people are more interesting than plot. My movies aren't so much what happens, it's how it happens. I mean, you pretty much know going into any of my films. I mean, it's not, gee, I wonder how this is going to end. It's more, you know, not what's going to happen to this guy. It's how is what I presume is going to happen. How is it going to happen to him? And that gives me the luxury of the time and the, you know, gives me the time within the framework of the film to develop the characters and build the characters. You know, Breakfast Club is a perfect example of a film. I had many a studio executive say, well, there's no story. They come in the morning, they leave. I said, well, it isn't, the story isn't, no, you know, I mean, the traditional story, boy gets dog, dog dies, boy gets new dog. It's not that kind of story. It is about who are these people, what are they like, and why are they acting the way they're acting. That's most interesting to me.
Is that a theme that you are going to make a trademark, or is that just so inbred into you as far as being successful and what you want to do as a filmmaker?
It's just what I like to do, and I'm really not, I've tried a couple of scripts with heavy plots, you know, like, I've always been in awe of somebody like Julie Christie.
I've often been in awe of her too.
Agatha Christie, you know, these incredibly complex plots, and I'm like, God, how the hell do you do that? I can't do it. I just, it's the people. I can build characters, and I like to. It's sort of like sitting down and making some friends. You know, it's probably not a great trait, but.
Oh well, it seems to me that it's
I mean, I
something
just,
that's very successful, though.
You know, Edie McClurg, for example. I mean, creating the perfect sort of dunderhead secretary. You know, I mean, a person who, the relationship between the principal and his secretary, I just adore that. Here's this guy who has probably hired someone he didn't think was too bright, so that he could dominate her, and she drives him insane because, you know, everything that she does annoys him, and he's a man who loves to be, you know, king of people that he can dominate completely. You know, he likes working with kids where he can tell their every, you know, you do this, you sit there, you put the pencil on the end of your nose and stand on your head, and he, you know, he was a great character to create. I had a good time with that.
You are known for your ability to work with young actors and actresses. And yet you had mentioned that what a joy it was to work with Jeffrey Jones, with someone who was an experienced actor. Do you want to work in more adult films in the future where there are more adult characters and that you have a chance to work with some of these talented and gifted actors and actresses?
Oh, very much so. I mean, it's kind of fun with Jeffrey. You know, first time in a long time I worked with someone I didn't have to stop after 20 minutes, have him go take a math lesson, you know. I'd have to meet his mom, you know. It was really fun to work with someone who had a body of work behind him and a you know, experience and skills, polished skills. So I could say to Jeffrey, "Can you do that?" You know, of course I can. You know, well, why don't we do it like that? And I'd say, well, let's try this, and then he'd say, okay, great, we'll do this, and it would just build into, you know, this wonderful collaboration. I had a great time with him.
Do you think there's any validity to not the charge, but the observation that a lot of your adult characters are not very sympathetic, especially parent characters?
I don't, you know, I mean, there are, you know, I think Breakfast Club was the one that raised the most ire. And that was a guy who wasn't very happy with himself. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, that was the character.
Yes.
It isn't saying that every school administrator is a bad person. Mm-hmm. I think my portrayal of teachers in this one is very interesting, because I delivered, when I was writing a script, I said, you know, if I was a teacher and it was a beautiful day in May and it hit 70 for the first time, I don't think I'd want to be in there either. You know, I mean, you sort of presume as a student, I'm the only one that wants to get out of here. Just hit the mic, didn't I? Wasn't that a beauty?
You'll learn. It's a learning profession.
You know. Is it a student presumes that he's the only one that wants out, but the teachers certainly must want out too. You know? So I did these classroom scenes where the teachers are almost as bored as the kids, and maybe more so. You know, it's May.
Yes.
It must be the Holly Smoot Act, you know, for the 35th time. So I don't think I've been unfair. And I deliberately created a very strong family for Ferris. You know, his parents, yeah, he tricks them, but he's a good kid. You know.
Do you think parents and teachers, with the exception of the dean of students, don't really mind being tricked? Sometimes they know they're being tricked.
Yeah. See, yeah. I mean, I've got 2 sons, and occasionally they'll come to me with something that I know is just no, this isn't. No, I know. And then they're. How did you know? How could you possibly know? I was there. I did that. I always, in the back of my mind, I always thought Ferris's father knew what he was doing, knew what he was up to. Thought, well, you know, he's a good kid. He's graduating. He's fine. You know, he's got 2 more weeks of school, and then he's off to college. You know, what's the big deal? Yeah, I think sometimes they do. You know, and certainly Ed Rooney, the dean of students, his secretary knows everything that's going on. You know, if Ferris called, she'd probably say, well, you know, he's out. If you want to come back here, you better get here before 3. I had an attendance supervisor when I was in high school, and I would come to her to get passes to go home. She'd say, is it really important today? I'd say, yeah, kind of. And she'd say, okay. Versus, you know,
that dictator.
Or are you just going to go home and watch the Three Stooges?
Thank you very much for visiting.
Thank
you. Thank you all very much.
How did you like that tapping on the mic?
That was great.
That was
beautiful.
On the next